So let's get this little mini conference started. Thank you, Reese, for spotlighting. My name is Steve Levy. I'm one of the managing director, founders of evry1. And if you ever get bored, you can, you know, Google me, Bing me, DuckDuckGo me, Tor browser me, Steve Levy recruiting. That's enough. Uh, uh, I'm especially pleased to do this for reasons I'll make known very quickly. Each speaker today only has 20 minutes, so it's not like we're going to set the world on fire. My goal is to inspire each person here in whatever you do within talent attraction or acquisition, whatever other acronym you want to call it, to think broader, to think more innovatively, to think more human. And I hope we can do this. Anyway, so today I'm going to talk about for the next 20 minutes, or actually 18 minutes, welcome to the human era of recruiting, or para Mariel, bienvenido a la era humana del reclutamiento. And this whole thing is en honor de Mariel Castellanes. If you don't know Mariel, that is her Facebook page. And again, what makes this personal, she and I are the same age. And so when things happen like this to someone who is very well respected in the community, it becomes more and more important, I believe. Anyway, last 18 or so, actually coming up on 18 months or so, we have gone through an era, a period of recruiting which many here have never been through before. I am old enough to have been through everything from global gas crises to massive financial declines to booms and busts, and each time I come away with trying to learn something that could make me better, make my friends better, make the people around me better. So think about the last 18 months, and as we're going into the next phase of this, I call it the pandemic era, and then if you don't like it, come up with something that's better. What have we learned from this? Well, we learned that change has its own unique challenges. And because some people here might not have access to some of these articles, here are some of the links. I'm including some of the lessons that others have learned, and I'm going to dovetail off of this into the rest of my my prezo here. Lesson number one: compassionate leadership addresses employees' needs, presumably. And I know there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek leaders who say things and do others. That's something that we in recruiting and sourcing have to deal with. Inclusion and belonging facilitates employee engagement. That we're still discussing this in 2021 is anathema to me. That may be for another presentation down the line. The intangible, I say 3A and 3B, the intangible aspects of relationships contribute to productivity. Nobody here doubts that, good relationships do help one's frame of mind and need to be factored into the equation. The other part is family matters more than we realize. I don't know how many here I don't know how many interviews you've conducted, and but one of the things that matters that I've seen come to really jump out at me is the more people I've interviewed from home, the more I see how members of their family, quote unquote, encroach on their workday. And having that balance, being able to deal with those family situations while at work are important, are vitally important. We'll get into that in a moment. And finally, reimagined technology can benefit everyone from new industry entrants to stakeholders. Zoom, all WebEx, what have you, they're not going away. We have a year and a half training on them, and these are things that we've gotten used to. And I don't think that these aspects of technology are going to go away. I just think they're going to become more robust and useful. And from the AA, by the way, the other article was, I'm 62, so I get AARP articles. Change also has their other unique challenges from an older person's perspective. But curiously enough, when you look at these, you see that these apply to everyone. These apply to elements. There's so much more humanity that has been exposed to us over the last 18 months. And so ultimately my question here, I'm not going to read this, my question to everybody here is, how do all these elements of change impact what we do? Well, ultimately, going forward in talent acquisition, change we're going to be drivers of change. Sourcing and recruiting, we're on the front line of all this change when it comes to companies and businesses. I believe that talent intelligence that we provide to organizations has to continue to evolve to the change to include the evolving needs of the people we covet. Business as usual will not work for us as professionals anymore. For hiring managers needing to deliver results, for companies who serve their customers and communities, doing things the way we've always done them, from a sourcing and recruiting, from a system perspective, from a process perspective, from a metrics perspective, these have to change. And so going forward, what I'm going to do here is pose questions and then ask yourself how you're doing, how your company is doing, how your team is doing with respect to these questions. So, in order to, be more human, and this is a topic that I've been talking about for, my goodness, 15 plus years, is, what can we do to be more human and more giving and more compassionate in our sourcing and recruiting? Well, I think we need to, first ask ourselves 3 questions. What do people really want to know about their job, about the, what they might be getting into? What do hiring managers really want to know about the people that are coming into their group or the process or what have you? And what do companies really want to know when it comes to talent, TA, recruiting, sourcing, and all the different variations of them? So we're going to talk about each of these questions by breaking down into even more questions. And the questions that I'm going to be asking are not comprehensive. These are questions that continuously go through my head. You may have other questions. And so on a go forward basis, if you like what you hear, and when you get this, this deck, add them to discussions within evry1, so we all can be better as a community. So in terms of what do people really want to know, I have 2 pages of questions, and the reason I ask them is, are we at all points in the process answering these questions? Because these are the things that people want to know. You can go to Reddit, you can go to Recruiting Hell, you can go to Twitter, you can Google recruiters. Honest to goodness, recruiters are asshats, and then discussions will come up about what this person did or didn't do. But these are the questions that in my experience of interviewing a few people through the years, these are the things that people want to know. Are we giving the answers to these questions to everyone that we interact with? What's the real job? What is the target compensation and total reward landscape? What is a hiring manager really like as both a manager and a person? One of the things I like to talk about in that area, it comes straight from college recruiting. If you think of, was it Rate My Professor, where courses in which the professor scores a much higher score, their enrollment numbers are much higher versus the professors. Like, God damn, I got to have that professor there. That's like last gasp effort. So, people want to know ahead of time, what are they really like, both as a manager and as a human being? Is the company's strategy truly viable and achievable? We know companies make grandiose claims about what they can and cannot do. Are they being honest? What's the true hiring process? How long will it take? What questions will be asked during interviews, even general consensus of them is fine. I am not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of gotcha questions during interviews. I honestly think if you want to be repeatable, let people, have access to all the questions that each person is going to ask. What assessments what assessments are made at each step and by each person. Every person has a different take on how they assess and how they view things, biases, if you will. What specific input does each person in the process have on the final decision? What are the specific biases of each person on the interview schedule? What type of training have the interviews been through? I through the years have interacted with company executives at startups. Oh, I'm a real experienced, interviewer. How many people have you interviewed? Oh, about 25. Okay, fine. What is the interview experience of each person? Like I said, what happens if I simply have a bad interview day? It's like a bad hair day that I have frequently. What is a company's remote work plan? And if there isn't any, why not? How adaptable is the interview schedule to work from home challenges? Look, I know we had this schedule today, but I have a family emergency. Are we okay with that? Will your company throw your hands up and go, well, they're just not reliable? How do you actually assess culture fit? And, what are examples of recent career advancement from the role and the hiring manager? I'm just checking the chat here for a second. Yeah, if anyone has any questions for any of the speakers during the day, pop them into the chat, and we will answer them as best we can. Next thing, what do hiring managers really want to know? I don't know. Have you asked? Have you actually had these conversations? Will I have to heavily manage them? Some managers don't mind it. Some people go, oh God, do I have to do that? What are they like? How do I know if they'll get along with other people on my team? Can they make my team better? Will they be able to do the work that I need them to do? Will they be flexible enough to pivot their work as needed? Will the TA team that supports me truly understand my needs? What is the communication commitment between me and the TA team? Now, if you've followed me at all in the past, I'm a big proponent of an extravagantly detailed intake strategy session. And, these are sort of the things that I think I know we need to do better as a profession. We need to have a much better handle on what it is we're looking for, and bring the manager into the process at an earlier stage and at a more in-depth stage. I like to say, I want to turn my hiring managers into little mini sources and mini recruiters that I can use if needed. So these are things that, ask yourself, are you obtaining answers to questions such as these? I love seeing these new faces come in. By the way, this is actually a fun part from the panelist point of view. Finally, what do companies really want to know? This was the hardest thing for me to come up with questions, but I'm trying to think, if I'm an organization and I'm looking at hiring as an entity, as a process, I guess when I say the company, or I want to know as a company, do new hires embody our stated values? Now, the challenge with things like this is there are often, people in the company that do not embody stated values, and all that stuff is findable. It's accessible online, so, at some point, knowing these things, if you're going to assess another human being on a value, then it might behoove you to know when people in your company have not acted in alignment with that value, and discuss those things as possible questions during interviews. Are new hires, I missed the apostrophe, are new hires Are new hires potential social media, community, and industry liabilities? You know, I think years ago, what I did a little interview on some news station, and it was about it was in the shadow of a serious social media faux pas, and I said, you know, I'm paraphrasing, what you do online will follow you to the grave. That's in honor of Katrina Collier. You know, are these things out there that the companies want to know that the people we're hiring aren't going to end up being liabilities? They want to know, how long will new hires stay in our employ? Well, we're investing in them. Why don't you know? Why aren't they staying with us? Will new hires leave as soon as they receive a better offer? What is the cost benefit analysis of hiring new employees? We know generally from a finance point of view, from a metrics point of view, you know, companies throw around, you know, cost per hire, which, you know, some of you know I've stated is one of the most nonsensical recruiting metrics ever created, because it's a purely apples to oranges comparison. But it always seems that, you know, we're fighting, you know, to do recruiting exceptionally well requires an investment and commitment. Companies, on the hand, want to maximize the output but minimize the commitment. So, you know, these are things that sometimes it costs money to make money, and that's where the, you know, the cost benefit analysis is much more complex than just you know, cost per hire. Big one nowadays. Why won't people relocate anymore? Don't they realize that we're, insert name of company? Why are so many insistent upon working remotely? Again, that goes to, you know, talent intelligence that we, I believe, should be accumulating and categorizing and tabulating during the process. So really what's happening now as a result of the pandemic era is we're facing a paradigm shift in talent acquisition. To people, humanity and honesty is, quite frankly, more important than a repeatable recruiting process. And it really seems to me that everyone is conflicted with what repeatable recruiting process has to mean these days. So, you know, the lessons for us in talent acquisition, in my opinion, you think of all the questions that I pose, ask yourself, are you giving other human beings, if you really want to be a human-centric process, are you giving people answers to the questions that mean the most to them? And sometimes it really is you know, like a battle between, you know, what the people we covet want, what the hiring managers need, what the company says they need. But ultimately, we're the ones who are making that first touch point. You know, we are the first. We're more often than not, you know, it's that first, the primacy effect that sets in a person's head whether they want to work at that company, at your company, or not. So my advice for to be the most human is answer the people's questions. Don't say we'll get them later on in the process. Answer them as early as possible. 2, obtain the answers for yourself before speaking with the people. It means whatever you think your intake session is, it's not simply a verification of what's written in the job description. We can talk chapter and verse on how the job description is not very, I'm just reading a message, is not very doable. Thank you, Reese. Don't settle for no, we don't share that information. You know, from hiring managers, from people in HR. Back up why it's needed with talent intelligence. And it may take you some time. It may take coming to communities like Every1 and asking people to share their information on, you know, how would you answer? I've requested this information from a hiring manager, and they don't want to give it, or HR what doesn't want to give it. What can I do? You know, how can I make them see that giving this information is really important? I know others today are going to talk about interview feedback. Give real feedback based upon facts. Don't lie to people. I mean, people can smell BS a mile away. They know when you're not being truthful with them. Honesty is the only true collateral we have as talent acquisition professionals. Um, Never lie, never stretch the truth. Um, don't lie, be honest. Be a change agent. Ask, why can't we do it this way? And more often than not, it's going to be, we haven't quite thought of that. Well, it's time to think of it, quite frankly. And really the most important thing is treat everyone as a human being at every step of the process. Um, People are with in-demand skills are in demand because they have those skills. And don't let your company, don't let your process, don't let attitudes, cultural elements push people away. At every step of the process. Here's one of the things that I've done at other places. At every touch point that you have with someone you covet is a chance to pull them closer and closer and closer. Did I answer your question? You got to be honest with me. If there's anything you need to know, please tell me. Please don't let it wait. I want to get you the information as soon as I can so you have every bit of information that you need to make a really important decision. Be that person. Get the hiring managers, get the people on their team. If there's someone who is absolutely a can't miss, get the CEO, get executives to send them little notes. Do all this human stuff. Anyway, so this is from Mariel, and I want to show you something. I'm going to stop the share for a second, and then we'll get into questions if there are any. But this is my mug, and one of the things that I've been doing during the course of, well, actually they're behind me, is I was really surprised in the last 18 months. I probably averaged, I don't know, 15 to 20 video calls a week, and that may be an understatement. And I focus on technology, so I'm getting people who live. I'm speaking to people who live their lives at the intersection of ADHD Highway and Asperger's Boulevard, and so they are, reticent at the get-go about video conferences. And then I'm hearing in the background, I'm hearing just little things. It could be a young crying child. It could be a cat. It could be a dog. It could be a parrot. And I'm saying, is there someone that needs your attention? And I say, yes. Well, it's my daughter. Well, bring your daughter in. Bring your daughter and sit your daughter on your lap. And so what I learned to do is just to be realizing that people are clamoring for a more human experience. The kids would they'd sit their kids on their laps, and I would put hats on just because it calmed every down. When the child starts laughing and the parent starts laughing, and you can just see the tension level just go down. That's what it's like to offer a more human experience. When the tension level is down, interviews are brutally tense situations, and most human beings don't go through enough of them to be that accomplished at them. And yet what we're doing in TA is assessing their performance based on a performance of theirs in which they don't have a whole lot of experience. Get more towards actual details and problems and whatnot. By the way, I also have another hat. I think I had mentioned that we have parrots here. So this is my other thing that I do for when the kids are around, and even the cats. If someone has a cat and they bring a cat in and they have them look at a screen, I literally will have a parrot head. So as silly as it is, all these are just little ways to offer a more human experience. So yeah. It's just I'm sort of at the phase in the profession where, if those who know me, I pretty much do the things that get a reaction, but it's mostly it's actually pretty calculating, being able to um, get another human being to act like a human being. That's I think one of the things that we think we need to do more of. Anyway, any any questions other than what about from attendees? Anything there going, Reese? Yet?
There's nothing on my side because I think people are probably shy to be asking questions.
Yeah. Well, let me throw that into the to the. Is there anything on Facebook?
Yeah, let me look on Facebook actually. We are live on Facebook,
We are live
so
on Facebook. Here's the thing to do is, everyone's going to here is going to receive the presentations, and my contact information is there. As it is. I'm hearing an echo. Okay, you got that, Reese. I know that some people are reticent to ask questions, and how do I do this? How do I do that? I am every member of the Everyone community. Every person who's speaking here today is going to be available to answer questions at any point in time. You can connect with me on Facebook. I have my email there. If you're a sourcer, you might be able to find my phone number. It's actually pretty easy to find. Message me. You want to DM me on Twitter because you like that? That's fine. You want to, send something on Instagram? I'm an Insta freak too. Whatever works for you. But use today as opportunity to ask yourself, what can I do better than I'm doing now? A day does not go by where A, I don't screw up, and B, learn from my mistakes. So on that note, by chance, what's Alan's situation? Is he still, because I can keep talking, everyone knows that.
I know. So Alan, we're gonna have to move him around, but either you can keep talking or we can bring Mikey in because I know Mikey was worried that he wouldn't be able to hit his 20-minute mark. So it's
then let's do this one. Mr. Weil, Mikey.
Hey.
Okay, so I'm going to cede control now.
Yep.
And give you my time. So rock and roll, brother.